have you ever felt like uh maybe the explanations you've always sort of accepted about the world, well, they don't quite add up anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're being pulled to understand things on a deeper level,
Yeah.
beyond those kind of usual answers.
Totally.
Well, if you've ever felt like that, then this deep dive is for you.
Absolutely. Today, we're revisiting a perspective that we've talked about before that offers some really fresh angles on some of those big questions you're talking about.
Yeah.
We're diving back into the work of Adam Ripley from the Beyond the Rituals community.
Love Adam Ripley.
And specifically, we'll be looking at his essay, Can the Philosophy of the Divine Law Unite the World? And his letter, For Future Minds.
I am so ready for this.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. So for those who might be new to Adam's work, he's that incredible voice behind the Practicing Truth YouTube channel. Have you seen that?
I have, yeah.
And he's like the central figure for the Beyond the Rituals community.
Right.
Which, as you know, is dedicated to, well, they call it the philosophy of the divine law.
Yeah, the philosophy of the divine law. Really interesting stuff. And we've actually explored this quite a bit here because it just keeps providing these like super compelling insights.
It really does. It really does.
And if after this conversation, if you're feeling intrigued, you can find tons more information on their website. It's beyondtherituals.com.
Yeah, go check it out. It's really fascinating stuff. So our goal today is to really get to the heart of Adam's arguments in these two pieces.
Right.
So we want to understand like what makes the philosophy of the divine law, in his view, this potential foundation for like greater unity. And then also like, what are the core principles? What is this philosophy all about?
Yeah, exactly. So think of this as a super focused exploration to help you quickly grasp the essence of what he's trying to say.
Okay, so the essay starts off with a pretty big proposition. I mean, he's suggesting that the philosophy of the divine law offers a like truly unique basis for global unity.
Yeah.
So what makes this foundation different from others we've seen?
I think what's so interesting is his emphasis on what it isn't.
Okay.
So he argues it doesn't rely on those usual things that divide us, like religious dogma or long-held traditions or even, like cultural identities. Instead, he says it's based on something so much more universal.
Right.
Shared reality, the reality we all inhabit.
It's interesting because it's not about just like blindly accepting things, is it?
No.
He draws this very clear distinction between, believing something and actually being aware of something.
Yes.
Or just obeying rules versus like taking conscious action.
Yeah.
So why is that distinction so crucial, do you think?
Well, you think about it. So many conflicts and societal divisions, they've stemmed from this rigid adherence to belief systems.
Yeah.
Without ever questioning them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or by following directives without understanding their impact. So by prioritizing awareness and conscious action, the philosophy of the divine law, it encourages people to be more engaged and more thoughtful in how they interact with the world and with each other.
Right.
And maybe bypass those ingrained conflicts.
Yeah, and it's not just theoretical. He lays out some core principles in the essay that really illustrate this idea.
Yeah.
The idea of no chosen people, only people. That immediately stands out to me.
Yeah.
So what's the significance of that in the context of unity?
Historically, the concept of a chosen people, it's often created that us versus them dynamic.
Right.
Fostering exclusivity and even, justifications for conflict.
Yeah.
So by simply saying that there are only people, this philosophy, it kind of levels the playing field. It suggests that there's an inherent equality and shared humanity that goes beyond any specific group you might belong to.
It's like that saying, there's no such thing as atheists and foxholes.
Yeah, exactly. We're all just people at the end of the day.
Exactly. And then there's that principle of no intermediaries between humankind and truth.
Right.
This feels like a direct challenge to all those traditional structures of authority, doesn't it?
It does. Think about how many systems, religious and secular, they rely on these interpreters or gurus or established authorities to tell us what's true.
Yeah.
By removing them, the philosophy of the divine law, it empowers individuals to go and seek and discern truth for themselves. It creates a more direct and personal relationship with understanding.
So it's not about telling people what to think, but giving them the tools to figure it out for themselves.
Exactly.
And that leads to the third principle, no required rituals, creeds, or conversions, only the ongoing process of seeking and accepting what is.
Right.
Which seems to underscore this idea of continuous learning and personal discovery.
It moves away from that strict adherence to a fixed doctrine.
Yeah.
And instead, you have this more fluid, evidence-based approach to understanding.
Yeah.
It suggests that truth isn't like a destination you reach.
Right.
It's a continuous journey of observation and integration.
There's a great quote in the essay that I think really encapsulates this. A philosophy that could unite the world would not elevate a people, a book, or a prophet. It would elevate the present moment, shared responsibility, and truth discernible to all.
Powerful.
Really sets the tone for his argument.
Yeah, it does. And when we look at why he believes this philosophy has the potential for unity, well, the first point he makes is this radical inclusivity.
Okay.
It's not about joining a specific group or, following a set of rules. Everyone, simply by being human and experiencing this shared reality, is already included.
Yeah, and that immediately dismantles those in-group, out-group distinctions that have, fueled so much division throughout history.
Right.
If belonging isn't contingent on belief, then the potential for connection seems much more, tangible.
Exactly. And this inherent inclusivity is also reinforced by his second point, which is that it's grounded in observable reality. Truth, when it's based on what we can all perceive and verify, it's not subject to cultural interpretations or biases.
Yeah. A fact is a fact, presumably, regardless of your background or beliefs.
Right.
And then he goes on to talk about unity emerging from accountability.
Yeah.
This idea that when we prioritize conscious thought and aim for constructive outcomes, cooperation kind of just happens naturally. It makes you wonder, how often does conflict arise from a lack of careful consideration, about our actions and their impact?
Which is a really great point about conflict.
Yeah.
He's suggesting that by cultivating that sense of individual responsibility in our thoughts and in our intentions, we're essentially creating a more harmonious collective.
And then the idea of dismantling myths.
Oh, yeah.
He positions these fear-based control systems, whether they're religious, political, or economic, as significant drivers of division. By encouraging critical thinking, the philosophy of the divine law kind of challenges those narratives that these systems rely on.
It's insightful because he recognizes that these systems often thrive by keeping people afraid, vulnerable, and dependent. A philosophy that encourages people to question and seek truth independently, well, that undermines those power dynamics.
And then there's this concept of no saviors, only solutions, puts the responsibility for creating a better world squarely on our shoulders. No waiting for an external force to intervene.
That's very much in line with Adam's work, this emphasis on personal agency. It's not offering passive hope. It's offering a framework for active engagement, and collective effort towards positive change.
Okay, so if this approach has so much potential, why hasn't it, gained wider traction?
Yeah.
The essay doesn't shy away from addressing those challenges, does it?
No, not at all. He actually offers a really realistic perspective. He points out that a lot of people, they seem to prefer to have their thinking done for them. It's easier in the short term to accept those prepackaged answers rather than do the work of critical thought.
It's the comfort of the familiar, even if it's not entirely true.
Yeah.
And he also touches on how deeply intertwined belief can be with our sense of, comfort, tradition, identity. That makes questioning those beliefs, feel like you're questioning yourself.
That is a really crucial insight. When our beliefs are so integral to who we are, to our sense of self and our connections to our community, then questioning them could be really destabilizing.
And isolating.
Yeah.
Then there's the role of power structures. It's kind of a sobering thought, but he suggests that those in positions of authority often benefit from societal divisions. And that they might not be so keen on encouraging people to think independently.
Yeah, that's an interesting tension, isn't it? Between a philosophy that empowers individual autonomy and systems that, they just function better when there's a certain level of conformity.
And he's very frank about the difficulty inherent in pursuing truth itself. It can be uncomfortable, it challenges our assumptions, and it certainly requires more of us than just accepting things on faith.
It does. It often demands that we confront uncomfortable realities about ourselves and about the world. And that can feel overwhelming for a lot of people.
So given all these obstacles, what's the path forward? It's not about aggressively trying to convert people, is it?
No, not at all. Adam emphasizes that the philosophy of the divine law is something that you have to live and choose. It can't be imposed. You lead by example, invite introspection and reflection rather than get into arguments.
Right. You can't really argue someone into seeing the world this way, can you? It's got to be more like a personal awakening.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And the focus is on building community through shared understanding, not shared identity.
Yeah.
So it's about connecting on that level of seeking truth together,
Yeah.
regardless of where you come from or what labels you identify with.
Right.
There's this interesting prediction he makes in the essay. It's about what might happen as those old illusions and outdated narratives begin to crumble. And he suggests that people will be naturally drawn towards a truth that's grounded in reason and observable reality.
Yeah.
Not in unsubstantiated promises or blind faith.
That really speaks to that deep human need for coherence and understanding. When the stories we've always relied on, they just don't make sense of our experiences anymore, we naturally seek out something that offers a more reliable, more evidence-based explanation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he concludes with this really empowering idea that this truth, this way of living, isn't some distant ideal, it's already within each of us. And the journey towards a more unified world begins with that individual internal quest for truth.
I love that. So hopeful.
It is hopeful.
Yeah.
It is hopeful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the letter for future minds. The tone feels immediately so much more intimate, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yeah.
Like a message sent across time.
Yeah, it's written directly to someone in the future who might be struggling with, the shortcomings of their old beliefs.
Right.
It really creates a sense of connection across time.
Right.
And he offers the philosophy of the divine law as a guiding principle.
And he's very clear about what it isn't.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a religion or a prophecy or some rigid set of rules.
Nope.
He uses the metaphor of a compass, which I think is so fitting.
It is a perfect analogy. It gives you direction, a way to orient yourself, but it doesn't tell you exactly how to get there. It empowers the individual to figure out their own path.
It's not a set of turn-by-turn directions. It's just like, general guidance.
Exactly.
He emphasizes that it's intended for those who are seeking genuine understanding, not just the comfort of salvation. It's for those who recognize the value in facing reality, honestly, even when it's difficult, rather than clinging to those comforting illusions.
Which again speaks to that difficulty of truth. This letter implies that the people who are ready for this philosophy, they're the ones who have chosen to prioritize clarity and authenticity above everything else.
Yeah, even when it means letting go of those familiar ideas.
Exactly.
And there's that line. The philosophy of the divine law was not created to convert the world of its time. It was created because someone hoped that one day you might be ready. There's such a sense of patience in that statement.
There is this idea that it's not about immediate widespread adoption. It was more like planting a seed, waiting for the right time for it to bloom.
And what does that readiness look like?
Well, he outlines it.
Okay.
A willingness to trade belief for evidence, choose responsibility over comfort,
Yeah.
and engage in authentic and honest expressions of love. It's all connected to those core principles we talked about earlier.
It's like he's saying, look, if you're ready to really look at the world with open eyes, then this is for you. And even in a time of upheaval or, the dawn of a new era, he still offers this message of hope. Like, even if everything is falling apart, there's still hope.
He suggests that if this resonates with you, it means that truth still matters.
And if truth still matters, there's still hope.
Right.
It's powerful.
It connects that individual commitment to truth with the fate of humanity.
Yeah.
It suggests that even in challenging times, that grounding in reality, it gives us a foundation for resilience and the potential for change.
And he brings back those guiding principles in the letter. A mirror, not a master, shared understanding instead of scripture.
Yeah.
It's about self-reliance and critical thinking.
It is. This consistent emphasis on conscious thought, constructive action, honesty. Those are the primary tools for self-discovery and building a better future.
And the call to action for that future reader is so clear. Live in accordance with truth, love honestly, and leave a better world.
It's about understanding that the choices we make today, they ripple out into the future.
And the letter concludes with this. It exists, as it always has, because someone in the past knew that someday you would arrive. Such a beautiful idea. Like this timeless wisdom patiently waiting to be rediscovered.
Right, this pursuit of truth and conscious living, it transcends the trends of any particular time. It's timeless.
So to wrap up this deep dive, what would you say is that core message that comes through in both the essay and the letter?
I think the central message is that the philosophy of the divine law offers this really compelling framework for unity. But it's not based on shared beliefs or identities. It's based on that deeper foundation of shared reality, individual responsibility, and the ongoing pursuit of truth, choosing truth over the comfort of illusion.
It really makes you think about your own relationship with truth and belief, doesn't it?
It does.
Whether you feel like those old narratives aren't working anymore or you're just open to exploring new ways of understanding the world, Adam's work really offers this thought-provoking invitation.
And it leads to a crucial question for you, our listener. Considering all the challenges we're facing right now, what role does your own pursuit of truth play in shaping the future?
Yeah. What role does it play? If you're interested in exploring these ideas further and learning more about the Beyond the Rituals community, be sure to visit their website, beyondtherituals.com.
It's a great resource for anyone looking to dig deeper into these ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, until next time.
See you then.